there's just so much.
You're listening to a Mamma Mia podcast.
These changes are all just part of my life now, and without these scars, I wouldn't be here. There's all those things that I need to be reminded of, and I think that has helped in a sense with our relationship and our closeness to each other. He's not contributing to those negative thoughts that I have. Cancer changes things, and unfortunately it does come into the bedroom. So
we all know cancer is devastating, but we rarely hear the raw reality of what it actually does to someone's everyday life, their marriage, sex life, finances and future. Diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, 35-year-old Emily Harrison Suhr says one of the hardest parts of living with a terminal illness is not always the treatment itself. Now, through her Raw project, My 13 Truths to Living with Metastatic Breast Cancer, Emily is forcing a brutally honest conversation about money, mortality, early menopause, sex, and the daily fight to stop cancer becoming the third person in her marriage. Thank you so much for joining us, Emily. I have so many questions to ask you. To start, I wanted to ask if you could take us to your life before your diagnosis.
before I got diagnosed, I went on this big overseas trip, solo travelled for about 8 months. Didn't have a lot of cares, I suppose, for a 24, 25-year-old at the time. Came back from my travels, got a job in a florist that I really wanted to work at, and then sort of COVID hit as well. So the world, I guess, changed for everyone at that point in time. I had a partner of 5 years, was still living with my mum and dad, and just, was fairly carefree sort of lifestyle sort of prior to, being diagnosed.
You were 26 when you found the lump in the shower. Can you take us back to that moment and then what happened next in terms of getting the diagnosis?
Yeah, so I pretty much was having a shower, found a lump, thought, something is a little bit, not right with that. I sort of put off looking into it for a while and then just in a conversation with my parents mentioned, I found something the other day, and they sort of suggested I went and had it looked at. I went to the GP. She felt the area and she said, I don't think it's anything, but we'll get you an ultrasound anyway, just to be safe. Went and had the ultrasound, and the ultrasound technician, he sort of lingered over this spot. I hadn't even really pointed it out. And then he said he needed to grab his supervisor and he left the room. And then the supervisor came in and she had a look and she sort of put me aside and said, look, I'm not meant to say much. However, I would suggest that when you get your results, you go straight and have a biopsy. She said, it'll take, a couple of days for the results to come in, speak to your GP from there. And then about 4 hours later, the GP called and said, can you come in tonight? So I went to the GP and he, explained what the results had shown and said, without a biopsy, we can't confirm anything. However, I think his exact words were, it would be stupid to not be worried. And so I was like, okay. It was very scary at the time, I think, because being 26 as well, I was obviously imagining the worst. And I was like, the worst is cancer, but 26-year-olds don't get breast cancer. So, what else could it be? So it was a really scary space for a couple of weeks. And then luckily it all was pretty go from when I initially went to the GP to when I got diagnosed. It was about a 3-week period. So I was taken very seriously. I was well looked after, which I think helped actually with those negative feelings.
Yeah. When you were first diagnosed and you got the diagnosis of stage 3 breast cancer, I wanted to ask how that conversation went. Did you have a support person with you? Do you remember the conversation? Was it a bit of a blur?
It was definitely a bit of a blur. I remember going into the room and sitting down with the specialist and being told, the biopsy results came back, they're stage 3 breast cancer. And then she asked me to take my top off and lay back on the bed. And I was crying at this point, and I was like, why am I laying here with my top off? You've just told me I have cancer, and now I, felt very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And because it was COVID, I actually wasn't allowed to bring a person in for that initial
that's awful.
moment. Yeah, so that was really hard. And then when I got to put my top back on and sort of sit and have this conversation with her, I did say, my parents are in the car. Could I get my mum to come in? So she let me call my mum, and my mum came in. And thank goodness for that, because Mum was able to take on all those bits of information that I don't remember. Like even still, it feels like a blur. I've pieced it together over the years because I now have a lot more of an understanding. Yeah, at the time I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why they're asking me all these questions when they've just given me such a whirlwind of information. It was very overwhelming.
Yeah, it is. And that's why it's so important to have support people with you through this process. What did they tell you about your treatment options at that time?
At the time, they sort of discussed a few different things I needed to consider. So they mentioned fertility treatment and egg preservation. They mentioned chemotherapy, radiation therapy, bilateral mastectomies, all of that sort of stuff. Genetic testing as well was a conversation we had.
Was that all in the one conversation? So geez, that's a lot.
It was a lot. They sort of talked me through an idea of a treatment plan, but they did mention that until I had a blood test and some bone scans and things, they wouldn't be able to confirm anything because they needed to check it wasn't anywhere else in the body at that time. So the next day, luckily my specialist was all over it. She'd booked me in for scans and everything the following day. So it all happened again really quickly. And then I had a follow-up appointment a week later after I'd processed everything where she explained everything all over again. Yeah, she's like, you might remember some of this, you might not. And then said, okay, now your results have come back showing, it's hormone positive. It's nowhere else in the body. There is lymph node activity, but we're not sure the extent of that. So you'll be having 6 months of chemotherapy and then surgery and then possibly radiation.
Yeah.
That was really helpful that they had all that information. They were able to kind of just present it.
Yeah. And that week leading up to that conversation where she's given you all the treatment options, that I could imagine was really overwhelming for you. Did you go home and do a lot of online research, and did you have lots of questions, or were you kind of just sitting with it? Or
one of the things I do remember she said to me was, don't Google anything.
Yeah.
So I did my best to not do that in the week that followed. That was really hard. She also explained to me that anything I found on the internet wouldn't be relevant for a person of my age and my experience. She said, it's all
very individual.
It's very individual, and it's all women, generally quite a lot older. So she said, what you see and the statistics that you see are probably not relevant for someone in their mid-20s.
Yeah.
So I did try not to Google things. I definitely didn't stick to that as well as I would have liked. I think it was a very overwhelming week because obviously people are also finding out. I sort of shut in when I need that space, but there were a lot of people coming to the forefront because they'd heard this news. So it was a weird, I guess, limbo to be in of wanting to keep to myself but also wanting the distraction from people.
Yeah. And you didn't really have certainty as what happens next and answers, and people are probably wanting to seek answers from you.
Definitely.
When all you probably needed was just support at that moment.
Yeah.
That would have been really hard. How did you navigate that?
It was really hard. I just tried to be honest with people and said, I actually don't know what's happening either. I have no answers to give anyone because they haven't given me the answers yet. And then once I got that information and I got those answers, it was a little bit easier. But then there was also that level of wanting to keep some of it to myself. Some of it, I don't know, people didn't need to know. So that was also hard, trying to, I guess, people that love you and care about you want to know this information, but I'm still processing it. I don't understand what's happening. And then as soon as you tell someone, they obviously generally sometimes put their 2 cents in.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I've had a lot of patients who tell me their cancer diagnosis has changed a lot of relationships in their lives. Did you feel like that happened with you?
Definitely. Initially, a lot of people came back into my life. I got a lot of messages and a lot of visits, which was beautiful. It was really lovely. And then sort of as I entered treatment, I think some of the people in my life that I thought would be the ones that were the most supportive did drop off a little bit, which was a really hard space to be in, especially going through something as difficult as breast cancer. But I put it down to the fact that it's an uncomfortable experience and people respond to that in different ways. So, it was tough trying to, navigate having breast cancer, going through treatment, but also these relationships and their changing patterns as well.
Hello, Holly Wainwright here. I'm an executive editor at Mamamia, and I have been part of this business, an independent women's media company, for more than a decade now. I have seen a lot, but being independent has always meant that we don't have anyone telling us to play it safe or to avoid the topics that feel a bit too messy or uncomfortable for a boardroom full of dudes to handle. And I never take that for granted. If we help you feel a little bit less alone or more connected through the conversations with fascinating women that Kate Langbrook's having on No Filter or one of our other shows, or if we help you feel more informed with the stories that your group chat is really reading on the Mamamia app, please consider, please, becoming a subscriber. Because your support really helps us keep telling the stories that matter to Australian women. As a Mamamia subscriber, you get unlimited access to everything. Every article, every video, and every single podcast we make. You can even move with me. Subscribers get full access to our at-home fitness app, including my new weights program launching soon, I promise, with an expert and not just me. Subscribe to Mamamia today. Support independent women's media. There's a link to do that in our show notes.
So what does day-to-day life look like for you now while living with MBC, and what does treatment involve, and how are you looking after yourself physically and mentally with everything that's happening?
Yeah, so when the metastatic diagnosis came in, I didn't really know how life would look. I had radiation initially, and now I'm on a targeted treatment plan. So I take a couple of tablets a day. I have injections every month, and I just sort of try and live my life as best as I can. It doesn't look as different as I expected it to look, I think, but I have also been living with metastatic breast cancer for 3 years, so I've, I guess, learnt how to live a normal life while going through something like this. I definitely have more of an appreciation of life now, that's for sure, yeah.
And just from the mental aspect, do you feel like there's been anything that you've been doing that have been helping you navigate this journey, like therapy or journal writing, or some people pick up wonderful things? Like, have you done anything that's kind of been helping you navigate this mentally?
I love therapy. I think therapy is one of the best things that anyone can do, even if they, aren't going through something as severe as this. It's just an incredible outlet. So definitely therapy. I tried journaling. I'm not very good at sticking to things, so that I did find that quite hard. But I like to live life as full as I can. So we are constantly trying to, tick off things on our bucket lists, whether it's holidays or small things that might pop into our head that I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that. I have a little notebook and I write it down and I try and tick those things off. And I just find that it makes me feel really fulfilled and gives me something to look forward to even when things are feeling pretty dark.
Oh, I love that. Moving to your husband, Lane, you guys have been together since high school, which is so beautiful, such a beautiful part of your story. Can you tell us a little bit about him and your relationship before all of this?
We went to separate high schools. We met when we were 20 and 21, but we've been together almost 11 years. We got married on our 10-year anniversary last year.
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, he sort of stumbled into my life when I didn't expect it, which I think is the way a lot of really beautiful love stories start. But yeah, we grew up together sort of through that early to mid-20s time, and then we went through COVID together. He was with me when I went on my trip overseas. He was incredibly supportive. He's been supportive of pretty much everything I've ever done, so he's just a really, really good person to have in my life. And then navigating this, he's one of the calmest, just most easygoing people I know. So he's just sort of been that rock where I can vent and rant and express my frustrations and get angry, and he's just sort of there like, it's all right, it's okay, everything's going to be okay. And I'm like, how are you so calm?
Do you feel like your relationship has changed much since your diagnosis?
I think so. It's hard, I guess, to pinpoint where the changes have come from, whether it's just through growing up and getting that bit older, or if it's because we've had to navigate something really difficult at a really young age. He obviously never signed up to have a partner that would have metastatic breast cancer, and that's quite a difficult thing, at least for me, to process too, because there's sort of a little bit of guilt around it, I guess, on my end. But obviously we've had a lot of conversations and things around that. But our relationship definitely looks different than it did early 20s. I think there's a lot more hardship in the background than we ever sort of thought there would be.
Do you feel like that's brought you closer together and made your relationship that bit stronger?
I do think so. I think we've got a stronger level of communication now, particularly around hard things. Like we can have those difficult conversations and there's less tension and less angst towards each other, I suppose, because there's something, I guess, significantly worse going on.
Yeah.
And there's always, at least in the back of my head, there's always that thing of, well, I don't know how long I've got, so I don't want to, hold any resentment towards anyone, especially my husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're better at communicating now than we were before, definitely.
You've spoken about not letting cancer become the third person in your marriage. How do you protect your relationship from slipping into that patient and carer mode?
I think a big part of it is doing all of those things that we want to do. Like we always planning a holiday or looking forward to the next thing. So there's always something positive within our relationship to look forward to. We have a dog. He takes a lot of our time. So there's always something, I guess, to look forward to. Or I guess the conversations don't really relate to cancer that frequently for us anyway. It's sort of, I might have a scan coming up or treatment coming up and we sort of discuss it then, but it's no longer part of our day-to-day conversations, which has helped too.
Yeah. It's just one part of you. It's not all of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to speak about intimacy. Intimacy can really change during any kind of health crisis. How has that evolved for you and Lane through all of this?
It's definitely different. When I was first diagnosed, I got put into a state of menopause, a medically induced menopause, which I'm still in. So I've been in menopause for 6 years now. Yeah, coming up to 6 years or a little bit over.
And all the symptoms that come with menopause you've been experiencing, yeah.
All the symptoms, everything. It is a really difficult thing to go through, especially when it's medically induced and you're sort of just in that limbo. But intimacy has been something to navigate, I suppose, for us, not only through going through menopause, but there's also physical changes have happened to me that I've had to learn to be more comfortable with. He is, one of the most supportive people I know. So he never wants me to feel self-conscious. He's always very supportive and sort of is my number one cheerleader with everything. So when I'm feeling particularly self-conscious or having difficulties, I suppose, with how I now look, he's the one in the background telling me that, he thinks I'm beautiful and
he's reminding you that you are. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that these changes are all just part of my life now. And without these scars, I wouldn't be here. So there's all those things that I need to be reminded of. And I think that has helped in a sense with our relationship and our closeness to each other. He's not contributing to those negative thoughts that I have. Cancer changes things, and unfortunately it does come into the bedroom. So, yeah. Obviously intimacy does look different for us now. There's more emphasis, I suppose, on those smaller moments. So whether it's, I love doing those mundane things with him. Like he's just my favourite person to spend time with. So we, go to the supermarket together or we go to the gym together, and it's those little things that I actually really value, and I find intimacy in those small moments. And intimacy doesn't have to be necessarily in the bedroom.
No, I'm with you on that one. So you've spoken a lot about your communication with Lane and that it's gotten to such a great place. So was honest communication the key to navigating these changes, or were there other things as well that have helped?
Communication, definitely. I think it can be really difficult, at least in our experience. It's been really difficult for Lane to realise that, my changes, I suppose, in what I want aren't because of him. They're because of everything else going on in the background. It's a medically induced reason as to why our intimacy levels may have changed. So we've had to communicate through that and reassure each other that even though this might be a difficult time, it's not because of the other person. Like that love and that compassion for the other person is still there. So I think that's really helped our communication too, because we've had to have those difficult conversations that are generally easier to just push aside and hope they go away, but we don't have that luxury. We have to talk about it. So it's been good though. Yeah. I think it's actually been really beneficial to open up in that sense in a way that, maybe we hadn't before all of this.
It's like, cut out the bullshit. I've got no time for
exactly.
this. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, the difficult conversations come a lot easier now, I think.
Yeah.
I'm Kate Langbrook and I host No Filter. Celeste Barber.
Hi.
Welcome to No Filter.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah, today we're diving into the world of G-Flip.
And your voice has always been such a calming, warm energy. So that's why I tear up, because you're like always growing up with you around. So thank you.
Sally Hepworth, what an absolute jewel you are in the crown of artists.
Oh, thank you. This has been lovely.
Today, we're talking to Rosie O'Donnell.
I just want to tell you, this is one of the best interviews I've ever had.
If you love conversations that go deep and stories that stay with you, listen to No Filter. New episodes of No Filter drop every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
You've spoken about how important dark humour has been in getting you through the hardest moments. How much has laughter helped protect your relationship as well?
My sense of humour is incredibly dark.
Does it make people uncomfortable?
So uncomfortable. It's one of those things, I just don't know how to turn it off. I think I've always had a dark sense of humour, but it's definitely gotten a bit worse. And you meet people and they get it and you just bounce off each other and it's really good. And thankfully Lane's one of those people for me. So I can say the dark things and he is just like, oh my God, like stop. I definitely use humour as a coping mechanism for sure. And it does make people uncomfortable, but cancer's uncomfortable.
Exactly.
So
there's no way to sugarcoat it.
Exactly right. So it sort of depends too. Like there's that level of like where I can make a joke, but there's also a level where people probably shouldn't go to without knowing if they can. So that's always an interesting one when they try and meet you and you're like, we don't know each other. Like we just met. But I do always tell people, it usually comes up. I found that it's one of the ways that I get introduced to people is they're like, oh, I told them that, you have a really dark sense of humour and to not feel offended or to be weirded out if you make a joke. And I'm like, you can laugh. Like if I say it, it's because I find it funny.
Yeah.
It was particularly when I looked sick, when I didn't have hair and I was going through active treatment and you'd meet new people. And I remember meeting a friend's partner. I made a joke about, I can't even remember exactly what it was now and it's probably not appropriate, but he was just like, oh. And I was like, it's okay. Like I have no hair. You can laugh. Like it's fine. And then after that, we just got really close. So it just breaks down it's interesting.
Other couples that are navigating a serious illness together, what's the biggest lesson you feel like you've learned about maintaining a relationship through a health crisis?
Definitely communication. When you're going through something as difficult as, whether it's breast cancer or another health concern, it can be so easy to keep everything inside and to keep those thoughts inside because you've never been through this before. You don't know if what you're feeling is right or wrong, maybe not how to express it as well. So I think figuring out, how to actually communicate that with your partner, because they might just look at you and think you've shut off and you're not interested in, whether it's the relationship or anything anymore. So being able to have those conversations and say like, actually, no, it's just me learning this new normal for me, basically. Yeah, communication would be my number one thing. And do fun stuff. Yeah. Go and do the fun stuff. Like life's too short. Go book the holiday and take the dog on the trip to the beach, even though it's cold, because he wants to go. Like we just try and fill in the days with the enjoyable moments.
I love that. One thing I didn't ask, which I did want, it was that warrior myth. Can you talk about that, like the need to be strong and that misconception, like, oh, you're so strong and you're amazing.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about that?
From conversations I've had with people, there's a lot of varying thoughts around the word warrior. You're so strong, you're a survivor, that sort of thing. There's a lot of, people have very different opinions on it. So it's kind of hard to, I guess, speak to it as a whole. But for myself, I appreciate it when people, have such positive things to say and they're really supportive of what I've gone through. But I do want people to remember I wasn't given a choice. If I wanted to still be here, I had to do everything that they threw at me. I had to do the chemo and the surgery and the radiation and take the tablets and have the injections, and I had to do it all. I do think from the outside, it looks like I'm incredibly strong and I've put up a brave face and gone through all this, but I have my moments. It's just, it doesn't go unnoticed that people, they're being kind and they are saying something incredibly supportive. It's not because I wanted to be strong in this way. It's just I've had no choice but to be.
Yeah. There's one last thing that I didn't ask, which I think a lot of people don't even really consider, is the financial impact of having your diagnosis and how you've been navigating that.
Yeah, it's definitely expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is financially quite a difficult thing to go through. When you're going through active treatment, you generally have to stop working or lower your workload. So for 12 weeks, I did 2 days on, 3 days off. So I was making not very much money. And then when I went on to a different chemotherapy, I was doing a week off, 2 weeks on. So there was that factor. There was taking the time off to, have surgery. There was going through radiation and taking time off for that. But then now it's also taking time off for appointments and scans and things. I'm very fortunate that in the public system, majority of my stuff is covered, but I do pay outright for medications. So there's a couple of $100 every month that go to my life-preserving medications, basically. I have to take these things. And recently, one of them has been discontinued. So now there's navigating what's the next option, and the next option isn't on the PBS.
Oh, goodness.
So factoring that into the budget now. If we want to go on all the holidays that we like going on, I have to be able to afford medications in advance so that I can take them with me. And it is financially quite stressful. That can be forgotten a little bit by people, especially when you're in the public system like me. It is assumed that a lot of it's covered, but there's also a lot that isn't. I see a lymphedema specialist for some swelling in my arm. That's $200 every visit, and you need to go fairly frequently, and it just all
adds up.
It does all add up, and you do have to consider it in everything you do, in every budget. Okay, well, this much needs to go towards medications this month.
Yeah. A lot of people get surprised when they're like, oh, wow, people living with cancer still have to work. They still have needs and they need to be met. They have bills that they have to pay.
I get asked a lot if I work.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, Emily, there's so much support behind breast cancer. What are you advocating for? What have you got behind?
Yeah, so at the moment, there's the Baker's Delight Pink Bun campaign, which I have been fortunate enough to be a part of. I worked at Baker's Delight for 8 years, from 16 to 24, and so this campaign actually means quite a lot to me because I remember putting up the displays in the bakery and reading the stories of the people in the posters, and it's just been a very full circle moment to be able to support BCNA through their Pink Bun campaign and to, spread awareness and raise money to support other people going through breast cancer. So that's a main one at the moment.
I know that you had the 13 Truths to Living with Metastatic Breast Cancer. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so we pretty much, alongside BCNA, we compiled this list of things that, maybe people are curious about and they don't want to ask, or things that someone like myself with breast cancer might want to say to people but aren't too sure how to say it. And it's sort of an honest list about, my experiences. And moments came to mind where I was like, oh, I remember someone asking this question, or I remember feeling this way in this particular moment. And it was just, a very honest way of sharing how that felt. There was one where I mentioned that I drink and I eat sugar and I indulge, basically, because a lot of people have this...
I know, this preconception.
Misconception.
Yeah, like you have cancer, don't have sugar, like sugar feeds cancer. Please don't say that.
Exactly. I'm like, well, I have cancer and I want to eat the sugar, so I'm going to do it. That was one that I found I was particularly passionate about because, I was like, no, if there's cake served in my office for someone's birthday, I want to eat a slice. I want to be able to have a glass of champagne at a celebration and enjoy those little things, which I think I seem to keep coming back to is the enjoyment in life and the appreciation I have for it now. And whether it's, a glass of wine, a Baker's Delight pink bun, or any little moment that you can find fulfillment in, enjoy it, even if people think that you shouldn't. And I think there was another one where, I also said travel, and if you've got something you want to do, just do it. Like life really is too short. Yeah, and you don't know what's coming next. And so just do the things. Like
Buy the shoes, buy the handbag.
Exactly. Buy the shoes. Go on the holiday.
Now, thank you so much for chatting with us, Emily, and I hope everything is tits up. Is that a good way to end it?
I think so.
Yeah, let's have some dark humour. Am I on the level now to share a bit of dark humour? Perfect. It was so lovely chatting to you today. You're a massive inspiration to many people.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you very much.
Mamma Mia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we've recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and the Wonnarua people. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.